Hello and welcome to another episode of the Contractor Growth Show. Today I'm speaking with Michal Zugaj at Zoo Guy Renovations in Roselle Park, New Jersey. Michael, thank you so much for being with us today.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure. I saw other guests on your show, and they seem to be successful people. They look like successful contractors. So it's a privilege to be on the show next to those people. So thanks for this. Thanks for
Fantastic. Thank you for that, Michael. We talked a little bit about the show. We've done, our team here has done quite a lot of research on Zoo Guy. You guys are up to some amazing stuff. And I'd like to learn more about what you guys are up to and also your journey here, immigrating to the US from Poland. A lot of great stuff to talk about here. Maybe we could start with you just telling us a little bit about the history of Zoo Guy, kind of where you guys started and where you're at today.
Sure. We started almost 20 years ago, 2006. I mean, I started 2004 coming to the United States from Poland. I just graduated and mastered in physical education, became a teacher, physical education teacher, which I disliked. I disliked the pay. I disliked the fact being humiliated by little kids, so I figured I'm gonna look someplace else. So I came to the States, working in construction, started with vinyl siding. I liked that. I came to the house, which looked ugly. When I finished, it was nice and looking new. So I liked the results of this work. Then 2008 came, the big market crash, housing crash, and that pushed me from siding to roofing and started doing residential roofing repairs and replacements because siding was pushed to the side. That gave me a realization that roofing is the trade that's always going to be there just because people need roofs above their heads. So it's going to keep going. So that's how roofing started at Zooguy Renovations. And after many years of ups and downs, we are here. Well, downs were coronavirus, right? That wasn't also easy for everybody in the business. So there was another bump on the road, but we're past that already. And we're growing now. We're doing more of a commercial projects. We're doing all kinds of roofing, from flat roofs to steep roofs to historic restoration. Metal roofs, we also self-fabricate. We have machines in our warehouse behind me where we fabricate, form the metal for our installations. We're kind of developed more services in-house in that process, leaning towards commercial jobs and fabrication, specifically with metal fabrication. So that gives us another field of work, another, edge above competitors, and some sense of stability and foundation too as well. Yeah, we could call it so. So worked out well for us. And this is actually the path we want to follow. We want to explore more fabrication services in our line as well to be even more self-sufficient in-house with our installations. So
Fantastic. What percentage of the work you guys are doing these days is commercial versus residential?
I would say 90 to 10%, 90 commercial, 10 residential.
Okay.
These days, yeah.
Do you favor the commercial work? I mean, you're dealing with maybe professionals. You don't have kind of the emotions of dealing with your residential housing market. Why do you like the commercial market versus residential?
I didn't say I like.
No, no, you didn't.
But I like. Yeah. Commercial is more stability, I would say, bigger projects, dealing more with professionals. With the residential, it's a matter of taste, matter of different opinions, and on some things. So it could be tricky, I would say. Even we're in the roofing, there's not much to change about it, but still, commercial in general, it's a bigger projects, more stability, more room to grow, basically. So that's why it's just that simple for us.
Fantastic. And I love how you guys have brought fabrication in-house. And we've talked with some guys that have really kind of pivoted almost to doing just a lot of fabrication themselves because they can do it in-house under one roof, and they're able to go spec out a project, get it all measured up, and then come back and do the fabrication. I mean,
Yes.
yeah, and is the fabrication, I mean, it sounds like that's a great part of your business. And you guys are able to offer some kind of all-in-one services and not need to go out to other shops or whatever kind of take care of the whole project yourself.
Yes,
That,
yes, that's
that's the
exactly
idea.
what led me to grow this part instead of spending money to other fabricators. This can stay here if we can offer quicker service and better service too, because we're in charge. So if there's a priority, we decide that this is the priority, not the fabricator. So it's up to us. It's quicker, faster, and better service in general, like that.
Interesting. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like the business has grown. I mean, you actually didn't say this. I assume the business has grown mostly by referrals. Is that correct? I mean, you guys aren't doing a lot of outreach and kind of marketing out in the community.
Yeah, it was always the case. It was always the case. It's just after almost 20 years in the business, I can tell that's just the way to climb your ladder. You just have to go to earn those customers, get the referrals, take the most out of it, and keep going, repeating, and going and repeating, and keep climbing till you get to the good customers where bigger customers, bigger jobs that will give you the stability, certainty, the bigger projects, bigger volumes, and
Uh-huh.
more satisfaction.
That's great.
In general. Yeah.
So we had talked a little bit about before we came on. You got about 10 people, on your team right now. One person in the office, kind of office manager. You've got one field manager, and then 7 or 8 guys that are kind of doing the thing out in the field. How had one thing that contractors struggle with these days that I really hear a lot is struggling to kind of recruit and then to maintain and retain team, right? Because there's a shortage of high skilled labor out there these days. Do you have some tips for our listeners about how to kind of find great people and then to retain them long term?
Well, process of elimination. Well, that's the
Okay.
first thing. So you have to pick from someone, right, to be able to determine who's good, who's bad. And then take care of the good guys, make sure the guys who take care of the business are taken care of, So that would be the biggest tip. And then I have most of my crew is the people that work for me are the ones that work over 5 years, most of them. So longer than 5 years. We have that relationship. They're being taken care of when they need to be taken care of. They take care of my business. And on the other hand, I look for different services that allow us, as a roofers, we also are waterproofing specialists. So we started exploring different trades. We recently started doing garage traffic coating and waterproofing. So that allows us to work even on the rainy days, even when the weather is bad, even in the winter time. So that takes care of my guys in the downtime as well. So being able to switch the trades, allows us to stay busy and then keep everybody, busy as well and taken care of.
Interesting, because Roselle Park, I mean, you guys are way up north. You guys have got a nice long winter season, which doing roofing, I mean, maybe highly highly questionable if you can do it at all. I mean, you guys may have snow on the roof for 2 months. Is that right? So it's helpful to have some kind of indoor projects that you guys can do.
That's why we are exploring the different trades, different applications. And that's why traffic coating comes in handy. It's under the roof. We can control the weather to a certain point. But we're managing their different systems, different applications, with different temperature tolerances. So we play by the ear, we try as we might, like everybody in the business, So we're making it happen.
That's great. I love
Gotta
it.
make it happen.
Fantastic. I saw on your site that you guys talk a little bit about financing for your clients. Can you tell me about how that works? Do you guys finance projects? Do you have partners that you work with that help finance some of the projects?
We used to when we were more involved in the residential field, but now that this is less part of our business, it's less necessary and less used, so we stopped doing it. Plus, we had a lot of situations when it was a problem, so collecting the money can be an issue in this business. So not anymore.
Sure. Okay. And then, I mean, you grew up in Poland. You came over here, 20 plus years ago. How did you choose to set up in the Roselle Park kind of area up there? I mean, you came to the United States, you could have been anywhere. I mean, was it family, or is that kind of where you settled? How did you determine to land there?
I have an uncle who gave me the first job, who helped me finding a place to live, who helped me in the beginning, who kind of, who was my place to stop, first stop and start. Right then, after I felt my ground under my feet, I started on my own and started working in construction, where I saw some opportunities, better opportunities. Then I realized I don't want to work for somebody. I want to work for my own. I'd rather work harder for myself than less hard for somebody else. Take it easy. So that was my motivation into my own business. And I started, like I said, in the wood siding, and then it turned into a roofing business. The roofing
That's beautiful, man.
business. Yeah. So
I love it.
that's what started.
I'm just curious, is there a Polish community that you're connected with in your area?
Yeah, especially in the first days, in the first years, especially that's where we were kind of on the same boat, Polish immigrants. So I had people that were here a few years longer than I, somebody to look up for, somebody to take advice from. So yes, we were working together, we were helping each other out, communicating, and I had some friends that helped me in the beginning, and I am always willing to give a helping hand to new people, new entrepreneurs that I see following my path, and trying to make it happen for themselves. So I'm always happy to help them as well, because I did receive this help, and I do appreciate it, because it did help me to get where I'm here right now. Yes, it was
That
a
is awesome.
smaller, bigger help, but it was always a help. So that happened, So
I love it.
I'd like to go back.
So, Michael, I mean, you came, and listeners, if you can imagine, I mean, I've lived in some foreign countries and had to learn the language. We lived in Mexico for years. We've lived in some different places, Haley and I, and it's not easy. And Michael came 20 plus years ago, worked for some other folks, dove right into starting his own company at some point along the way. He's had a thriving business, got 10 folks on the business, and is doing great. So you can do it too, right? I mean, get out there and hustle. I mean, I really get the sense that Michael is just an absolute go-getter. Michael, do you have any thoughts about, I mean, if someone is, say, a young entrepreneur, and they're doing, say, $300,000 to $500,000 a year, maybe they're kind of a 1 or 2 man team, and they want to break up to that, million and a half, $2 million mark. Any kind of thoughts or things to sort of watch out for, or tips that you have, maybe are related to team, or just things to maybe even not do, like don't make this mistake? Any thoughts about how to grow a business from say that $500,000 mark to a larger team where they've got 3-5 people walking around and they've got a thriving business? Any thoughts about how to do that?
Yes, to me it was just being being ready, handle what you have on hand, always be open to new opportunities, and search for new things, for extras, for the edge. What can make you bigger and better than the competition? Will you go to the customer, and what are you going to say? Why would he choose you? What makes you different, and have this edge, ready? That was my way, and then be ready for the opportunity when it comes, and then grab it.
I love it.
Take the risk. Sometimes takes the risks, sometimes it's against the logic, that happens too, but we are here for a reason, and we'll keep doing what we're doing, we'll keep doing it. So,
I love it. Again, so to our listeners here, I want to point out some great advice that Michael just gave that, it'd be easy to skip past, but this is really important. We consult businesses, we talk with contractors how to grow their business. And what I would call a piece of the advice that Michael just gave that I very much also believe, and that's sort of identify your unique selling proposition, your USP, right? So folks, there's a lot of competition out in the marketplace, and we often, I hear and kind of teach sometimes that, different is better. Better isn't better, different is better. Okay. Everyone's out there saying, we're the best, right? I mean, that's kind of an old, tired message. But what Michael's saying here, figure out the thing that you're good at that's different than what everybody else is doing. Michael's doing some technical work. He's doing flat roofs. He's got some unique products that we didn't even really get into here, but some unique service that he's offered. He has created the fabrication in-house. And so, that's unique, right? Because a lot of roofers, they don't have that. And so when a commercial, when a business talks with Michael and says, we're getting, quotes for a roof and for fabrication, he can say, hold on a second, we do both of those, right? And that's what we're bringing to the table. And as well as, I think, if we had more time, probably all kinds of other unique things that Zooguy Renovations is offering that other competition in the marketplace is not offering, right? And he's leading with that. And I get the sense that if we really got into a sales conversation, he'd be really, showing, look, this is how we're different, this way, this way, this way. And it really changes the sales conversation to be kind of from a commoditized service to a competitive vacuum, which is, we offer this unique thing here. No one else is doing that. And it just makes it a lot easier for people to say, yes, we want to work specifically with Zooguy. Is that a reasonable take on what you said there, Mike?
Exactly. Yes. Thank you very much for kind of putting in a pill.
Sure. Okay, great. Well, we talked about, in this episode, we talked about, Michael's background from Poland, talked about he was a physical education teacher, had a master's, get tired of getting get tired of dealing with kids and them beating them up all day. Came over to the US, over 20 years ago, kind of hooked up with his community and his uncle, started doing some projects, and then said, I'm going to go out on my own. And now has built, a fantastic business. Is doing a lot of commercial work these days, really kind of found his niche, added some other services, some unique services that he can sell just kind of on his own that other people aren't offering. Michael, if folks want to, if they're in the New Jersey area and are looking for, a commercial roofer or getting some commercial work done or potentially residential as well, what are a couple of good ways to get in touch with you guys?
The easiest way is through our website. There's a link where you could request a quote, where you can enter your info and reach out to us. We'll respond. The right person will respond. Or you can just call our office, 908-220-0845. And we'll take care of you, and we'll take it from there. We have estimators here, so we'll take care of inquiries.
Great. And so that website is, I think, kind of a play on Michael's last name, which is Zooguy, Zugai. But the website here is spelled Zooguy Renovations LLC. So Z-O, like it sounds, ZOOGUY Renovations with an S, LLC.com.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly. That's the same pronunciation.
Great. Perfect. And we'll also post the number here on the episode. Michael, thank you so much for being with us today, man. A lot of great information here. Great to hear the story of Zooguy.
Part of it as well, yes, of course, and have a little bit of input myself, and looking forward to see more of your episodes.
Perfect. Okay, thank you, my man. I really appreciate you being on the show today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.